How's it going, everyone? My name is Michael SK, and welcome back to Chaos at Noah. Speaking of chaos, this route that we're in, Kozupi's route, has been nothing but that. The entire last episode was completely nutty. Takumi losing his mind. He's constantly thinking that he's being followed, which he might be, and that people are taking photos of him. Kozupi decided to commit murder on the rooftop, though that was probably less of like her decision and more like she was driven into like a, I guess, insane state, if you will, if you want to give her the benefit of the doubt. Rimi was going to kill Takumi, but nope, here comes crazy. Kozupi came in to save the day and killed Rimi in the process. So lots of death, lots of blood in this route. And I was told that this is the craziest route, so maybe this is what I've been looking forward to. We walked through the halls. As nice as it would have been to just leave, we were both covered in blood. Kozupi couldn't walk in her current state, and I had a feeling that if we went outside, we'd get hit with the cops all waiting for us out there cliché. It was probably best to just hide out somewhere. Even one of the empty classrooms would probably work. The atmosphere was tense. The scream earlier had kickstarted a slowly growing commotion inside the school. Teachers quickly ran by us in a hurry. Students left their classrooms, ignoring that homeroom was still in session, and cautiously peered around the school to try and see what had happened. Shit, there were a lot of people. Maybe it would have just been better to have left after all. We had to hide somewhere like... Oh man, not again. There it was again. That noise again. Stop it, just stop it. I was gonna go fucking insane. A few students spotted me from a distance, and not just students, but a few teachers too. Every single one of them had their cell phones out and were aiming them at us, and for some odd reason, they were all holding mirrors in their other hands. Yeah, they were trying to break us and trying to break Kozupi. Coupled with a black wrath and an infernal bloodlust sprouted inside my head. Something within me was about to snap. Perhaps emboldened by my bloodlust, Kozupi's heart reeked of its own hunger for blood. Lovely. Kozupi was reacting to the mirrors. Despite the fact that she was having so much trouble walking, she raised her D-sword overhead anyway. Kozupi, don't do it. Clutching her petite frame, I tried to hold her back. I don't think that exactly worked, but I couldn't do it. Kozupi's body freed itself from me with tremendous force. Pulled along by her sword, Kozupi charged the group holding mirrors. Her legs tangled with one another, she nearly slipped and fell. And yet she still managed to move forward and swung her enormous D-sword. Lovely. Well, that's more death. And with a single swing, she had claimed about 4 human lives. It was a staggering storm of destruction and brutality. Her movements and posture were like a novice's. If she leaned back any further, she'd fall over, and yet her sword's trajectory was both abnormally accurate and fast. Her aim was precise as she claimed each and every one of their lives with a single blow each. Almost like she wasn't the one swinging the sword. The sword was the one swinging her. As she bathed in the fountains of blood, Kozupi began to cower. Now, it's the side effect of the whole mirror deal. I could hear Kozupi's current mental state. Excuse me. Her mind was in total disarray, a total chaotic mess. I leant my shoulder to Kozupi once more and climbed the stairs along with her. Hey, yo, what up, Misumi? Why you look like that? But the very next moment, we ran into Misumi-kun and the other Dokyun coming down the stairs. Shit, these guys again. I bit my lip.
Oi. For
a split second, the Dokyun who spoke was taken aback. But the very next one, Misumi-kun grabbed me by my chest. His face was teeming with fury.
お前らが殺したのかよ、Minako!
Seriously, who the hell was Minako? Noticing my confusion, the Dokuns held Misumi-kun back, excuse me.
まあ待てよミスミ、まだそうと決まったわけじゃねえだろ。だいたいあんなことよりによってこの二人ができるわけねえって。
All that? They were definitely talking about the slaughter on the roof.
それよりよエスパー、
僕はエスパーじゃ。
うるせえよ、口答えすんなカス。
I tried to tell him I wasn't an Esper, but he wasn't having any of it. His threat caused me to shrink back. Feeling unbelievably pathetic, I began to wonder if Kozupi would murder everyone here if I wanted her to.
殺してもいいよ。
Oh, lovely.
殺したくない。
Kozupi's mind was a chaotic mess of conflicting, contradictory emotions.
殺せない。殺すことも受け入れるべきなの。
She should just give in. That was one thing I could never do.
でよエスパー、お前の妹ってお前に似合わず可愛いんだな。ナナミだっけ？
Why is he bringing her up, actually? This is the first time that somebody has, like, brought up Nanami here. What? Why the hell did this Dokyu know about Nanami?
だからよ、ちょっと可愛がってやったんだよ。
何や言って。
わかんねえの？
The Dokyun, acting far, far too friendly with me, placed his hand on my shoulder. Even though he was a guy, he was covered with the smell of perfume. The smell was so strong it made me want to vomit.
俺の連れ、だいたい10人くらいでいつもつるんでるんだけどな。ちょっと暇してたわけよ。で、女ナンパするかって話になった時によ、提供してくれたんだよね。お前の妹。
Jesus Christ. Yeah, that sounds like typical high school. Nanami wasn't some fucking object to be offered. What the hell had they done to her? Wait, no, more importantly, who the hell had offered them Nanami?
ダーススパイダーだよ。
Oh, gotcha, okay. All words left me.
わざわざ向こうから声かけてきてよ。お前の妹を好きにしていいとか言って渡してきたんだよね。マジでウケるだろ。
Oh, no. Okay, maybe not like typical high school. My vision turned bright red. Within my mind, it felt as if my blood was boiling. It billowed and bubbled, rising up to my head like magma.
ナナミに何を？
あ？だから可愛がってやったっつってんだろ。そうそう。妹さ、片手なかったぜ。痛そうだったな。
Oh yeah, good times. Good times. That had all been real? When I'd come home afterward to check, I hadn't been able to find that damn hand. So that was why.
なあ、ミスミ。お前も教えてやれよ。お前だってあの場にいたんだからよ。
Ooh, the betrayal.
それよりミナコ。
Forget that shit. Forget that shit. What the fuck could possibly be more important? My sister is what matters here, you piece of shit. Don't you fucking dare compare that fucking horror. Oh, I'm not saying that. Oh no.
そうそう。記念に写真撮っといたぜ。なあ、エスパーも見てえか？見せてやるよ。
I'll fucking kill you.
画像っと。あった、これ。ほら、見ろよ、エスパー。
The Dokyun grabbed me by the jaw and forced me to look at the image. The photograph was definitely Nanami, but she was covered in blood. Her eyes were hollow. And she was completely naked, of course. Oh yeah, time to snap. Time to go big mode. Yeah, he's still losing it here. Him and Kozupi aren't too different, you know. The knife I'd been gripping dug itself deep into the Dokyun bastard's chest. When the fuck did we get a knife? I'd brought it with me today just in case I needed it. Oh, perfect. Apparently I myself had stabbed him. I pulled it out and then stabbed him with it again. And then I did it again.
おい、やめろタク。うるさい。
I pulled it out and then stabbed it back in.
ミスミ、お前も死ねばいいんだ。僕もナナミも、世界中の全員が死ねばいいんだ。僕が殺してやんよ。
I pulled it out and stabbed it back in, then again, then again. The Dokyun wasn't moving anymore. With his eyes open wide, his mouth drooling blood, he was very much dead.
ねえ、コズピー。全員、撃ち殺してよ。
With a sad look on her face, Kozupi nodded. Her D-sword rose in her hand. It reel-booted with a furious, resonant noise, and then Misumi-kun could only stare in shock at the abrupt embodiment of mayhem.
Huh?
That sucks for Misumi because this was like the only time he was actually like brought in for something else. With a single swipe, Misumi-kun's head was blown clean off. She had swung her sword so violently she lost her balance and fell right on her ass. It's the comedic effect, to be honest. Misumi's collapsing body then fell on top of her, soaking her clothes with blood. Despite looking wholly miserable, she pushed the corpse aside and then she looked at me and smiled.
匠さんも殺しちゃったね。
Was she crying, suffering, or simply smiling? Within her pained smile was a mix of so many different emotions.
なんで敵だらけなんだろう。もうやだ。
She was sobbing inside her heart. But it was just as she'd said. We had enemies everywhere, so we had no choice but to kill them. That was what they all deserved. I wasn't the one in the wrong here. The pieces of shit that I'd attacked were. It was payback for what they had done to Nanami. Nanami, was she still alive? With all that blood, she was probably long dead. That and her severed hand. There was no way she was alive. They would never get away with this. I'd make fucking sure of it. Yeah, I don't know about that. We need a D-sword. I'd been on the run for so long, but that ended here. I would kill every last one of them. Every last one. When I had seen that horrible, cruel image of Nanami, something inside me snapped. And now there would be no stopping me. Yeah, we just needed some traumatic imagery to really, like, bring us into the realm of fuckery. And here's the man of the hour, the one that's been causing or getting all of this mayhem to really go on. Suwa Mamoru stood before the gate to Suame Private Academy, gazing intently at the building. The car he had driven there with sat alongside the gate, with his back leaning up against it. Although he wore a suit, a rucksack adorned his back as well. Emanating from within it was a bizarre mechanical sound. I mean, I was kind of aware of what he was doing. He was making people snap photos of Takumi, and others to hold out their mirrors over at Kozupi. The atmosphere within the school was one of an intense bubbling tumult, one Suwa could feel even from where he stood. The pure hilarity of it all left Suwa unable to contain his laughter.
今日こそ西条匠のコードサンプルを手に入れなきゃっすからね。
His utterance was not directed at anyone in particular, and was heard only by himself. Around him stood several other men. Unlike Suwa, their attire was far more uncouth and casual, though they all carried rucksacks just as he did. They were all very evidently suspicious, with their eyes remaining glued to the school, and speaking not a word to each other. All that seeped from their mouths were the same mutterings as Suwa, spoken to no one but themselves.
そのためにこの学校を実験場にしたんすから。もともとここはそのために望みが作ったんすけどね。
Suame Private Academy had been founded by an institution backed by both Nozomi Technology and the Cosmic Church of the Divine Light. Of course, it wraps all the way fucking back around to them. For this reason, the number of gigalomaniacs enrolled was far higher than normal. Their proximity was no mere coincidence. It was simply inevitable that they all had gathered here, and to this, they were all none the wiser. I mean, I felt like there was some reason they were all ganging up here. It had to be more than just plot relevance or a coincidence or something. Be that as it may, Suwa could not help but let out a faint sigh. Up until this moment, he had employed countless methods of attempting to break Nishijo Takumi. It had all been in an attempt to gather Nishijo's code sample, but the boy was far weaker, far more pathetic of a person than he had anticipated, and because of this, the boy would never find the motivation to awaken as a gigalomaniac. Never would he have thought that one single boy would be so much trouble. However, this would end today.
もう回りくどいことはなしで、とっておきの祭りを提供してやるっすよ。
There was no doubt that countless innocent people would die here. Well, yeah, so many people already have. But the number of deaths hardly mattered. The Cosmic Church of the Divine Light's founder had said so, and Suwa had thus been compelled to believe so. In the end, it really did not matter. The third melt would bring Shibuya to ruin this very day. No matter how many high schoolers died, they would be treated as sacrifices lost in the earthquake, and the truth of this day would be buried beneath the rubble. None would ever know of the murders that occurred here.
さてと。じゃあ行きますかね。
Oh, the party's already started, buddy. God damn. Suwa opened the trunk of his car and retrieved his Darth Spider helmet, of course. Of course. He put it on slowly and deliberately. When it stood alongside his suit and rucksack, the Darth Spider helmet made Suwa appear all the more conspicuous. But this was not something that even remotely bothered him. With an air of utter composure, he advanced to the school. And upon Suwa's signal, the men with the rucksacks followed closely behind him, remaining in complete, utter silence. Oh boy. We're gonna have quite the showdown here. I lent my shoulder to Kazoe, and the two of us left for the courtroom, or courtyard, goddamn. And when we got there, Senna was waiting for us. Hey! She was glaring at us with a harsh scowl on her face. Her D-sword was out, real booted, and emitting a red beam of light.
お前たちはバカだ。
That is
罠に
true.
はめられているんだ。すべて精神攻撃だ。その影響でみんなおかしくなっているに過ぎない。真の悪に気づけ。元凶を叩かなければ悪夢は終わらない。ポーターだ。リュックを背負っている奴らがどこかにいるはず。そいつらが妄想攻撃を。
セナさんはコズピーの味方だよね。
コズ？
真の悪って何？その影響があるから何なのかな。コズピーとタクミさんを攻撃してきたゴキさんたちはね、自動的に敵だよ。だから殺すの。殺したくない。
The voice in Kozupi's head wasn't making any sense. Her mind was a chaotic mess.
それが敵の思うツボなんだ。
みんなでストーカーしてくるんだもん。怖いんだもん。コズピーでなくなっちゃいそうになるんだもん。
I felt the same. The click of the camera shutters, the creaking of the wheelchair, just hearing those things made me feel like my mind itself was disintegrating. I just wanted to let myself go, surrender to that oh so enticing bloodlust. Or maybe I already had.
お前たちは何と戦っているのか把握しているのか。
I didn't know who the enemy was. I didn't know anything at all, really. Was my enemy Shogun? Or was it someone else? I didn't even know who was attacking who anymore. What I could say for sure, though, was that everyone and everything in this world was against me.
妄想に惑わされるな。お前たちは自分の妄想によって殺されようとしている。小津、それ以上ディソードを使うんじゃない。負の物質がお前の心と体を侵食しているんだ。まともに歩けなくなっているんだろ。このままだとお前という存在が崩壊する。
セナシャンはコズピーたちの味方？
I think so. With a voice sounding like it was begging for salvation, Kozupi pleaded for an answer once more. I too waited with bated breath to see what Senna might say. I wasn't expecting anything. I really wasn't, but...
私はお前たちの味方だ。
Senna answered decisively.
お前たちを攻撃している敵は私が倒す。だからもう妄想するな。
I was saved. I had someone on my side besides Kozupi, another friend. Kozupi slowly lowered her sword.
よかった。セナちゃん、大好きなのら。
Tears began to form in the corners of her eyes. Kozupi's gaze clung to Senna like a lost puppy. What was that? Without warning, Kozupi swung her D-sword. Senna instinctively deflected the blow with her own. However, the shock of the attack was enough to blow her backward, and she fell to the ground. Why?
小津、何を？
コズピー
Senna made it clear that she was on our side. Why are you trying to kill her?
違う、コズピーじゃない。
Crying out in her inner voice, she swung the sword up past her head and held it above Senna.
コズピーじゃないよ。
I think she's long gone. She swung down with the intent to kill. With only a nanosecond to spare, Senna rolled across the ground, just barely avoiding being cleaved in two. Quickly getting back to her feet, she brandished her D-sword once again.
私を殺すつもりか、小津。
Crying profusely, Kozupi shook her head back and forth, wildly in fierce denial. Excuse me.
違うよ。手が勝手に。助けて。セナちゃん、タクミちゃん。
What the hell was happening to her? Seriously, what the fuck was going on?
負の妄想に取りつかれてしまっている。自分でディソードを制御できていないのか。
So, against Kozupi's own will, she was now an indiscriminate killing machine.
小津、ディソードを消せ。
できない。できないなら。
こいつ。
殺す、殺す。
Uh-oh.
殺す、殺す、殺す、殺す。
Yeah, she's gone.
殺す
She's gone.
殺す
A voice spoke, but it wasn't her inner voice. It was Kozupi's actual voice, chanting kill to no end, the exact opposite of what her inner voice wanted.
こんなのやだ。
セナ、コズピーを助けてあげてよ。
All I could do was beg from the sidelines. There is no way I could have walked into the middle of the fray.
妄想を見せて無力化を。
Kozupi launched an unrelenting attack. But all she was doing was barreling around with her D-sword. It was a purely brutish attack with no aim, one only a total idiot would use.
殺したくないのに。セナちゃんのこと殺したくないのに。
Despite her body staggering around, despite her feet drunkenly stumbling, despite her gaze not even facing Senna, Kozupi's sword headed straight towards Senna without fail, doing everything in its power to rip her in two.
殺す、殺す、ぶち殺す、ぶち殺してやる。
Oh yeah. Lashing out at her with nothing but nonsensical attacks, her assault continued. Each and every swing was extremely heavy, yet sharp as could be. Senna was pressed for time. Her expression grew restless.
この。
And eventually we're gonna have visitors. The swords mutually clashed with one another. Senna repelled her blow, breaking Kozupi's guard. But in Kozupi's counterattack, her D-sword seemed to disregard the very laws of physics themselves, as D-swords tend to do when you think about it. And who is bleeding now? Thick blood sprayed from her slender body.
それは妄想だ。
Senna cut around and made her way to Kozupi's back. The once bloody corpse of Senna vanished. Taking advantage of Kozupi's shock, Senna managed to pin her arms behind her back.
理想度を捨てろ小杖。
離せ離せ離せ離せ離せ離せ。殺してコズピーのこと殺してセナシャ。コズピーは悪くない。コズピーは悪くない。みんなが悪いんだ。こんな自分もう見たくない。セナシャも殺したくない。だから
Kozupi's mind and body were at odds with one another. They had split completely in two. Her small body thrashed around violently in an attempt to break free, but in her mind she could only weep.
頼む。剣を捨ててくれ、小杖。元に戻ってくれ。私はお前を見捨てたりしない。お前は私のたった一人の友達で。
Tears formed in Senna's eyes. She was crying. Uh-oh. Right then, Kozupi's arm made the strangest of movements, bending in a direction that shouldn't have been possible. Oh no. A dull crack could be heard as her joint dislocated. A muted scream came from her. That's fucked up. Before I even knew what had happened, Senna, who had been keeping Kozupi pinned, had been impaled from behind by Kozupi's boorish D-sword. The edge gnawed through her, grinding into her flesh like a saw. In the blink of an eye, Senna's clothes were turning a deep crimson. Gritting her teeth in pure anguish, she tried to toss Kozupi aside to put space between them. But she was too late. Kozupi whipped around and then slashed her sword in a straight horizontal line. And that's it for Senna. Wow. And the side of Senna's body was torn to pieces. Kozupi turned to Senna, who was writhing in intense agony, and then she thrust her D-sword directly into her. I don't think she's gonna be doing that.
死んじゃえ死んじゃえ死んじゃえ死んじゃえ死んじゃえ。
小杖。すまない。すまない。
死んじゃえ死んじゃえ死んじゃえ死んじゃえ死んじゃえ。
お前のこと助けてやれなくて、私のこと慕ってくれたのに、私はお前の力になれなくて。
死んじゃえ死んじゃえ死んじゃえ死んじゃえ死んじゃえ。
お前の SOS にもっと早く気づいてあげられたら。小杖と話している時間が私にとって唯一ほっとできる時間だった。
死んじゃえ死んじゃえ死んじゃえ死んじゃえ死んじゃえ。
慕ってくれてありがとう。
死ね。
Ah, come on. Come on. I couldn't look straight at it. You know, I do kind of feel bad. Like, I can't blame Senna whatsoever. I do believe that, like...
死んだの？
Yeah, she's probably dead. I do think that Senna would have been there for her if she, you know, heard her cry and everything, but I think it's as Kozupi said whenever we kind of, like, got to know her more our first time around here with the story. It's like that. It's like a frequency, how well you connect with one another, and, you know, I guess they just didn't align as well. That doesn't mean that they couldn't communicate regularly. They were obviously friends, but, I mean, just couldn't hear the cries. I guess that's just how it is. She was dead. Senna was dead just like everyone else. Even though she'd been our friend, even though she could have saved me and Kozupi. Kozupi had killed her. The sword remained pierced into our friend's corpse. Kozupi's disjointed arm hung down lifelessly. and on her face was a smile accompanied by a waterfall of tears.
セナちゃん返事して一緒にガルガリ君食べに行こうよ匠さんと3人でまた写真撮ってまた
Her heart was crying out in despair.
ねえ匠さんセナちゃんどうして返事してくれないのかなどうして
Senna is dead.
殺しちゃったよ
Kozubi fell to her knees. With one hand, Kozubi softly picked up what was left of Senna's lifeless corpse. What had once been a girl of intense beauty was now smeared from head to toe in blood, with her long black hair covering her face.
こんなコズピーねこんなこと望んでないのに望んでなかったのにセナちゃんのこと好きだったのに大好きだったのにお姉ちゃんみたいだなって思ってたのに
Yeah, I can actually see that too, based on how they hung out.
なんでコズピーはセナちゃんのことを殺したんだろう
Yeah, why did a lot of certain things happen on this lovely day?
信仰の
Oh,
救い
here
っ
he
すよ。
is. Before I knew it, a man in a Darth Spider helmet had appeared near us, holding a small handgun pointed directly at us.
あえ
Darth Spider. I remember what that Dokyun had told me before I'd killed him in a fit of rage. He'd said that Darth Spider had offered Nanami to him.
お前か
さあ、何のことっすか？
He'd shot me. My leg exploded with pain. The bullet had struck me right in the knee. Terrible spot to shoot. Kozubi's D-sword began to hum. And Darth Spider's helmet was shredded like it was made of paper. It wasn't Shogun's face beneath the mask, instead it was the face of a young man. The man retaliated, turning Kozubi into a mess of gushing blood and broken bones. And then Kozubi's legs gave out from beneath her.
おっと、殺しはしないっすよ。コードサンプルを取らせてもらわないといけないんで。
Who was this guy? Who in the hell was this bastard? I couldn't stop thinking that I'd met him somehow before, but I couldn't remember where. How had he gotten his hands on a gun to begin with? But I did know that this must have been him, the so-called source that Senna had mentioned. Was he Shogun's underling, or was he some other enemy? I didn't know the answers to any of these things, and I didn't need to, because at the very least I knew that he was the source behind everything. I wanted to kill this bastard so badly. But my aching leg was suffering from an incredibly unusual sensation, and before long I couldn't even stay standing anymore. Well, yeah, if he keeps on shooting us, then things aren't going to get any better. The next bullet landed in my shoulder. The impact of the shot sent me sprawling to the ground, or on the ground. The bullets dug into my flesh, and the sheer pain and heat made me scream. Next, my arm. I dropped the knife I had been clenching tightly in my fist. My entire body was emitting distress signals. I couldn't even tell where I was being shot anymore. I was dying. This pain was too much for me to take. The man approached me. He peered at my face and then removed something odd from the rucksack that he was carrying. It was some sort of headgear, with more cables than I could count.
殺す
Oh wow, I am very impressed here.
何？
殺してやる
Rising up from the ground, Kozubi swayed heavily. She was dragging her leg, almost having to force herself. She raised her blade.
こいつ、化け物かよ。
Yeah, kinda.
殺してやる
One that he, kinda created. I heard the sound of the sword cutting through air. It interlaced perfectly with the sound of gunfire. Okay, what happened? The D-sword utterly crushed the man's body. His final breath soon dissipated, and the man's all too familiar way of speaking would never be heard again. Okay. What next? I don't know what will happen next here. Moaning, Kozubi coughed up a spatter of blood. Her chest was dyed a rich vermilion from the bullets of the dead man. I guess now we die? And then, as if her strength had been sapped entirely, she collapsed face up onto the flower bed resting directly behind her. A myriad of black particles began to envelop her D-sword, a hulking mass of sheer mayhem inspiring awe to all those who beheld it. The truly beautiful yet fearful blade gradually began to waver.
たくみさん、コズピーね、もうダメみたい。
Bearing the excruciating pain shooting through me, I crawled as best as I could toward where Kozupi lay. Only a few moments ago, my entire body had been blazing with heat, but now I felt so incredibly cold. It was like I had plunged straight into a lake on a cold winter's day, and my whole being was shivering with a force I could not stop. I couldn't feel my fingers anymore. My vision had gone blurry too. But even so, willing forth all the strength I could muster, I stretched my hand toward the girl lying in a radiant array of brightly colored flowers. My cold fingertips met Kozupi's warm, tender fingers. Desperately seeking something to cling to, wishing with all my heart to find it, I draped my fingertips on top of hers and closed them. Oh yeah, we dying. I found myself lying in the flower bed just like Kozupi. The stench of blood was masked perfectly by the rich scent of the flowers. I felt frigid, but found warmth through the soil on my back, as well as Kozupi's fingers. The sky was so very high above us, stretching as far as the eye could see. And for some reason
ねえねえ、空がとっても綺麗だよ。まるでブチュブチュさんをたくさん散りばめたみたいで。
She was right. The sky that we saw shifted hues endlessly. And just like she'd said, it was like there was an array of colorful beads overtaking the sky. From my pocket, I retrieved the cell phone strap that Kozupi had given me some time ago. I had only just remembered that I had even had it. I took the cell phone strap in my palm and then clasped in her hand once more, embracing the strap in the middle. I wasn't strong enough to maintain a solid grip anymore, but it didn't matter.
コズピーもあんな風に空に浮かぶブチュブチュさんになりたいな。
You can. Throw away your piece of shit body, throw away this piece of shit world. You can be a star if you truly wish to be. If you do that, then you'll never have to worry about pain or sorrow ever again. If you do that, then you'll live in peace and tranquility forever.
たくみさんも一緒に来てくれる？
Of course I will. I'll always be with you. You were the only person who didn't betray me. You were the only person trying as hard as you could for my sake, even until the very end. So I'll never betray you. I'll stay with you even until the very end.
ありがとう。あのね、コズピー、たくみさんのこと好きになってもいいかな？
Why not? I don't mind. My consciousness was fading, but I answered all the same. I realized that the hand I had been clasping was slowly beginning to lose its warmth. I realized that the strength was slowly fading from the fingers clasping my hand. But I didn't care. I wasn't going to let go of her hand until the very end. I tried my damnedest to hold back the tears I knew would come. The sky I saw turned to pure white. All the clickety-clackities were disappearing. I figured something had happened, but I didn't really care anymore. Relief washed over me, relief that Kozupi wouldn't have to see the clickety-clackities die out. I gently closed my eyes. In that very moment, time came to a stop. The entire world came to a stop. And so, within that sky, excuse me, with colors as rich as those beads, Kozupi and I shone as stars, floating in perpetuity? Let's go with that. Ooh, nice. Nice little ending song here, too. And there's our clickety-clackities. I think there at the end was the, our third melt or whatever. The, sky turned white and everything, so I'm sure what followed was a lovely earthquake. But wow, I don't even know what to say. I don't even know what I can use for a thumbnail in this goddamn episode. I was lucky with whatever I was able to grab in the previous one, but I don't know about this one. And I also don't even know if this is going to be monetized. Like, the previous episode, as of when I'm recording this, which is like a day after I uploaded that episode, is currently demonetized, and I don't think that's going to be remonetized, so I'm sure this one will probably be in the same state because you've got characters that are just drenched in blood for a pretty big bulk of the episode, which it is what it is. So perfect time to plug my Patreon if you guys want to support me there, because ad revenue won't support me here. But no, this was probably the best route so far. Like, I would have to rank them in the order that we've done them so far, because they just keep getting more insane, and I'm here for the chaos. Like, sure, we're learning a little bit more, except in Nanami's route, but this one really just painted the picture of how fucking broken and dangerous Kozupi is. Probably one of the more dangerous Gigolomaniacs, if not the most dangerous. Just because she can just lose it that easily. She's like on the cusp of like fucking death and destruction for all around her. And you just don't get that out of all the others. Like, I'm sure they're capable of killing, but Kozupi just has like this, she's just got this other side. Something within her, something snapped. You know, that meme or whatever. But yeah, I would say that her route has been the most fun so far. Just, I don't know. I don't know what we can expect out of Senna's, if that's going to be more entertaining. And I don't know what to expect out of Rimi's. I don't know what to expect out of the final route. But hey, 3 more to go, methinks. Yeah, we've got 3 more endings to get. We're almost there. We've almost gotten all the CGs. I don't think we're doing really good on the tips. I have not gotten a tip in a while. Oh, we actually got a few. They could have been from whenever I was skipping through the neutral directions, or maybe in delusions that I wasn't paying attention to. But yeah, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, we've got 11 that we still have to go on tips. And truth be told, they could be, and the same thing with the CGs, there could be some in the end game, some of the later delusions, like in chapter 8 and 9. And also, I do know that there's a CG of the, or I'm actually assuming, and it makes the most sense, so I'm also going to just say that I know that there's a CG at the end of the nurse without her glasses on, because that's apparently a thing. There's all these different, you know, or I guess her sprites. She either has the glasses or she doesn't, based on the choices that you make in the beginning. But I think I could just jump to like chapter 8 and 9 and just kind of like run through all of them. But that's something more so for me to do and not for the playthrough. So I'm not going to worry about the completion on the CGs and all that, but we are pretty close. There really isn't that much more to go. And, you know, just that realization that we're at the end is really coming up. But Senna's route is next, and then Rimi's. I am excited for both. Really excited for Rimi's. Curious where Senna's could go, because truth be told, we do know a little bit of her character background, where she comes from, because of the connection directly to Norase and the whole Noah 2 project and all of that. So I think we've got more background going into her stuff compared to the others, so that could make for an interesting story. Interested to see where that will go. I'll hold my tongue on that one. So we'll jump into her route next time, and yeah, hope you all enjoyed this crazy mess. If you did, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, all that fancy jazz, and yep, 3 more to go.